I dated online. I went to a girl's house for the first meeting. I felt this was a strange request on her part. It turns out she was awaiting trial and was under house arrest for killing her husband. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. People of Reddit, what are your worst dating stories? Story 1. I once went to a first date with a chick and ended up having dinner with her mom and autistic brother after helping her mom move stuff around their house. And I was asked by her mom to spend the night, at which point I was expected to have relations with the daughter. So I met this chick online. The car was having trouble, so this particular night she was my ride. She picked me up and went to a mall. She seemed really cool, and we were hitting things off. Went to this bar at the food court and got a bit of lunch. We're sitting there eating, and all of a sudden, she says, completely out of the blue, "My ex me." I was in mid-bite, so I had the little moment where I stopped chewing for a moment, and then start chewing again really slowly because I have committed to the bite. "I'm sorry, that sucks." "Yeah, we just broke up a week ago." "God damn it. So I'm a rebound." Great. I did feel bad for her though, but then she talked about nothing but her relationship with him. I'm thinking, this is a really crappy date. She tells a story about how she told him she was going on a date with me, and he grabbed her arm and yelled at her. I'm already thinking, what the hell have I gotten myself into? So I'm already kind of wanting out, but she was my ride. So we see this movie, and then she wants to walk around the mall. "Hey, let's go into Hot Topic. I love this store." While we were in there, she just lunges at me and kisses me. Okay, getting really weird now. After the mall, I'm like, okay, well, I had a really good time. "Me too. You're so great. I can't wait for my family to meet you." I'm thinking, okay, I can get into why that's not going to happen a bit later, once I'm safe and away from the crazy woman, but for now, I'll smile and nod. Then she gets on a highway I never got on. "Where are we going?" "To my house, duh." Apparently she meant, "Can't wait until you meet my family right now." At this point, I almost want to call a friend for a ride, but my friends would just love the fact that I'm in this situation and let me rot away. So I stick it out. I figure, okay, a couple of hours and she'll take me home. Nope. We get to her house and immediately, her mom asks me to help move a pile of 6 or 7 heavy boxes out to the shed in the backyard. I'm too polite to say no, though I wish I wasn't in this situation. So I do it. I come back in, covered in sweat. It was August, muscles aching, and she says, "Thanks, sweetheart." The girl's brother walks into the room and she introduces me. "Hey, this is my brother, Terrence. He's really autistic, so don't pay any attention to him." "What do you mean, don't pay any attention to him?" "Well, everything he says is weird, so you just take it with a grain of salt." I really felt bad for the kid. He was interesting. Showed me his pet lizard and pet tarantula. I hate spiders, but I figured I would humor him because if his sister is always like that, it would help to act interested. He changed subjects all over the place and was really hard for me to follow, but he eventually left to go do something else. So about an hour passes of me watching TV with the girl, and then she says, "So, are you ready to go eat?" Damn it, I want to go home. But going out one more time will put us in a vehicle, so I'll get home. We get ready to leave for Chili's, and her mom walks into the living room with her purse. "So, where are we going?" I laughed. Seriously, I thought she was joking. Because what mom would just invite herself to dinner on her 23-year-old daughter's first date with a guy? She looked at me weirdly, then back to her daughter. "Chili's, is Terrence ready?" "What, so you knew?" I'm smiling, but in my head I'm thinking, why the is this normal to all of you? So we go to Chili's and I feel like I'm the big brother in the family. The constant bickering between the brother and sister, her egging him on, making fun of him for being autistic, and the mom only jumping in when they started kicking each other under the table. After about an hour, we left. Get back to their house and it's about 10 p.m. I figured we were dropping off the mom and brother so she could take me home. "So, are you about to take me home?" The mom jumps in. "No, she's not allowed to drive after dark. You'll have to spend the night. It's okay though. Her bed's a queen, and I don't care what you guys do in there. I'm not the smothering type." Lying witch, you have been part of half of this date. That's what I was thinking. I was ready to call a friend because I was seriously about to panic. Not that I feared for my safety, but I was just a 12 on a scale of 1 to 10 in comfortability. I pull out my phone. It's dead. Holy my phone is dead. Why is it dead? Oh yeah, I've been on a 10-hour date, so I have to just deal with this. We go back into her room and watch TV. She keeps putting moves on me, moves that were honestly incredibly hard to resist. I end up pretending to fall asleep, and she falls asleep. I turn the TV on and watch Comedy Central until the infomercials start. Then I get up. It's way too uncomfortable for me to sleep in this situation. So I go into the living room, and no one's there. We start digging through their drawers looking for a charger that fits. There's only a USB one, so I had to turn on their computer to charge my phone. Called a friend. It's about 3 a.m. at this point, so no one's going to pick me up, but I just needed to rant and talk to her for a couple of hours about my night. At about 5 a.m., the girl comes out of her room and is like, "Baby, is everything okay?" "Yep. You coming to bed?" "Not for a while, thank you though." Eventually fell asleep on the couch a bit later. The next morning, she wants to watch like 3 hours of the Disney Channel and is finally willing to take me home at 1 p.m. I say no words the entire way home. I wanted to just go off on her, but I sensed a lot of crazy in that family, so this was one of those situations where I found it okay to just never answer the phone calls or texts again. She ends up convincing a friend to contact me on the dating site, but not to tell me she knew her. After we finally swapped numbers, she called me and I heard the chick in the background. "Now ask him why he won't talk to me." I hung up, deleted my profile on that site, and took a long bath. Never again. Story 2. Went to a restaurant with a guy I met online. He seemed like a really good guy. We actually hit it off really well. We were sharing a dessert and having a nice time until his fiancee came over and dumped a drink all over him. She started screaming about how she loved him and how she couldn't believe he'd gone behind her back. She was out to dinner with her mother at the same restaurant, apparently. The plans had changed and he had no clue she would even be in town. He left me at the table, running out after her and her mother, who was screaming profanities at me from across the restaurant. I was nearly in tears trying to explain to the waiter, and really anyone who would listen, that he had made quite a scene, that I had no idea he was engaged. And then, because he had left, I got stuck with a bill. Twist. After the whole incident, he tried to go out with me again. He claimed they had broken up, managed to find him on Facebook and learned that they were still together. So I sent her a message with a screenshot of the text where he had asked me out again. I told her I was really sorry that she was dating such a scumbag, that she could do better. So she and I ended up talking. Now we've actually become casual friends and go out to lunch on occasion. And he's still a scumbag with an active OkCupid. Story 3. Second date. Met her at a restaurant and didn't realize I'd left my wallet at home. She says the only reason she agreed to a third date was that I made multiple offers to drive home, about a 30-minute round trip to get it. I invited her out to lunch, no expectation of her paying. We were married in October of the next year, and we'll be celebrating our 11th anniversary this year. Story 4. Met a guy online, a little older than I would have liked, but I didn't think anything of it. I figured, hey, it's just coffee. If anything goes badly, I always have a bail. I get there and the dude has a fake tan that makes him look like a leather-wrapped mummy, balding, bling shirt open to show off chest hair. The works. Alright, I think it would be rude to stand him up. It's just coffee, and then I can bail. Guy has a child he's never mentioned, keeps insisting on buying me more coffee drinks. Watch those like a hawk, but he never slipped anything into them. Goes on about how he's retired. He said he was employed full-time. Now he wants 10 more children. What the f***? Claiming I need to go meet a friend somewhere to help them with something. At this point, I was about to claim my cat was on fire to escape when he grabs my arm and tries to convince me to go home with him. I dropped his arm on the table fairly hard, apologized when he let go in pain, and then dashed. That was the creepiest guy I ever met. Thankfully, I gave him a Google number, not my real number, so I just disabled that number and never heard from him again. Story 5. So I met this guy at a party for a friend of a friend. I'm pretty shy, so I ended up kind of hanging out in a corner by myself and met a guy who was also a friend of the host. It was pretty cute and funny, so we spent most of the night talking and the subsequent few days texting and calling each other on and off. Finally, he invited me out on a date to go horseback riding. Cool. I love horses. I'm down. We live in a bigger city, so we have to drive for about an hour and a half to get to the place where he boards his horses. On the way there, we chat and generally talk until we're about 15 minutes away. Then he gets really quiet. I take this as him getting tired of driving and just enjoying the music and scenery. We get to the place and he literally hops out of the truck before he even puts it in park and runs toward the stable calling his horse's name. I put the car in park thinking that it's been forever since he's seen her and he really loves his horse. I follow him to where he goes and he's in the stable feeding her carrots and lovingly stroking her nose. He gives me a carrot and shows me how to hold my hand to feed her and instructs me to give her a carrot. The horse eyeballs me, turns her head and walks away. Whatever, horse. He loans me a horse to ride and we go on a mini ride and picnic. Anytime he got close enough to touch me or hold my hand, his horse would mysteriously veer away from me. After we're done, we pile into the truck and make the drive home. About a mile and a half from my exit, he asked me what I thought of his horse. I said she was cool, and I thought she was beautiful. Then he dropped a bomb on me. He said he was in a relationship with his horse, that they were in love. The only reason he was dating was that he knew he was going to die before her. He told me that if we were to date, that I was not to make him choose because he would always choose her first, and that she was his priority. In other words, I would be the second fiddle to a horse. But if I ever top that one, I'm joining a convent. Story 6. Have a date who brings her high priestess vampire friend to convert me and join her coven. A year after the loss of my last significant other, hit by a drunk driver, I decided it was time for me to start dating again. I met a girl on OkCupid, and from our long conversations over instant messenger, I felt that we had clicked well enough to meet in person. Like many others here that have done online dating, my partner only had a couple of images on her profile that were angled, so you couldn't really figure out her body type. Since I was a broke college student, we were just going to go window shopping at the mall. I'm sitting outside Hot Topic, and these two very large women approach me. The larger of the two kind of looks like the girl I was supposed to be on a date with. It turns out the pics online were from 2 years ago, and she became much bigger than imagined. She had brought her friend along as backup. I figured her friend would go do other things while we hung around. Nope, she would follow us all evening, staying within a 10-foot radius. Now this friend would not shut up about how much she loved Twilight. Now she was on team something or other. I don't give a crap, and I just wanted to talk with this girl I thought I'd hit it off with. Eventually we were outside and they were smoking. I have weak lungs and I told her this before we met in person, so I was making sure the wind was blowing away from me. Her friend says that because I don't smoke, I wasn't cool, and that the girl should just cut her losses. As we were going back inside, I pulled the girl to the side and asked her why her friend came along. Her response was, "Oh, she's the high priestess of my vampire coven, and she wanted to see if you would make a good recruit." I turned and walked away. Story 7. Yeah, we went out to a nice restaurant that she liked. Second date, we had a nice dinner and everything was good. The check came, and I paid with my debit card. It was declined. Apparently there was an issue with my direct deposit, and a fair amount of money didn't get into my bank, which had no notice. Okay, here's my credit card that I carry just in case. Where's my credit card? I just gone on a trip and cleaned out my wallet. Credit card sitting on my desk at home. Checkbook? That's at home too. Cash? Who the hell carries cash? After sheepishly explaining the situation and promising to pay her back ASAP, she paid, walked out to the car and found no car. After calling around, I discovered the car was towed. Towing company was overly aggressive and towed my car when they shouldn't have. Took a cab to the towing yard. No money, she had to pay for the cab. Got into an argument with ignorant tow truck guys who refused to release my car even though it was parked properly, and we had restaurant receipts to prove it, etc. $125 she had to pay. Worst date ever for me. Interesting post-date tidbits. She was a trooper, and we're married now. Lol. I always now carry 3 ways to pay. That just isn't happening again. We ended up buying a house in the town where the tow truck company is. The tow truck company mysteriously burned down one night. I had nothing to do with that, but I could definitely see someone torching the place, though my theory is they burned it down for insurance money. Cab drove us right by the house we ended up buying when we moved into that town, though we didn't know it at the time. A couple of weeks after my car got towed, the mall and building got rid of towing company and opened the whole thing up due to all of the false towings happening. Story 8. My friend set me up on a blind date with this woman. She ended up being cute and fun. We were having a blast. 2 bars, a few pictures, and a bunch of shots later, she told me she loved me. It should have been a warning sign, but we started hooking up and I let it go. We got into her truck and she asked me where we were going. I suggested her place since I live at home with my parents at the time. She went ballistic. She said her stepbrother was looking for us and was going to kill us. She slams the truck into reverse and then starts speeding around town. She stops the truck and says she's sorry and we start hooking up again. And she goes crazy and slams on the gas and starts to scream. "Whip it out! Show me what you got!" While punching the dash. This goes on for about 20 minutes until she stops again and starts begging for forgiveness. I took the chance to jump out of the truck and run away. I called my friend who set us up and made him pick me up at 3 a.m. Story 9. One time I met a girl online. For our first date, we went bowling after a cheap dinner. Well, as we were bowling, my dinner began to not sit well with me, and I had to run to the bathroom. Before I can get my sexy first date jeans off, I proceeded to poop a little bit. I was able to make a save for most of it, but I certainly pooped in my pants and leg. I was able to make a hasty cleanup operation in that bowling alley bathroom, enough so that I could proceed with the date without too much suspicion. I didn't tell her this until more than a year after this date. 3 months ago, we got married. I wish I could say this was the only time that I've pooped myself in her presence throughout our courtship. Story 10. My best 3 from dating online. Messaged a girl online. She seemed a bit odd, but I thought I'd see where it went. I go to pick her up to go to a movie or something. We hadn't organized what we were going to do, and she's with her mother at the door waiting. Her mother is bouncing up and down with excitement. It was obvious that she'd photoshopped her pictures. She had a massive gap between her teeth that wasn't there in the photos, and she was probably twice the advertised weight. Neither of those things is necessarily a deal breaker, but the dishonesty was greatly concerning. She gets in my car. At the time, it was a banged-up 5-year-old Mitsubishi Lancer, hardly a Ferrari, and says it's the nicest car she'd ever been in. Okay. Again, not a deal breaker, but a bit odd. So we start to drive to the city to grab a bite to eat, and she starts talking about Charmed, the TV show. I'd never seen it, and after 40 minutes of her talking about it, never planned to. This is all she talked about. I ended up bailing on the bite to eat and just walking around the city with her for 20 minutes before driving her home. It was completely and horribly awkward. There was absolutely no chemistry. She had a questionable body odor and unfortunately was not that bright. I dropped her at her house, assuming she thought it went badly as I did, and thought nothing more of it. The next day, she calls while I'm working. My phone was in my locker. 6 times. I realized she was crazy, and after a couple of days of this, I messaged her to say that I didn't think we'd really clicked, that I didn't think that it would work for the two of us. She messaged back and said it was the best date she'd ever been on and that she couldn't believe it didn't feel the same. I messaged back and apologized, and said I just didn't feel it. I foolishly thought that would be the end of it. No. Over the next couple of months, she called or messaged almost every day. I changed her name on my phone to Crazy, girl's name. Fortunately, it eventually stopped. We didn't go on a second date. On the first date with another girl, we went to a nice restaurant attached to a pub. It's going okay. Obvious vibe that neither of us is really that interested in dating, but she was nice enough so it wasn't horrible. Then she finishes her beer and the glass goes into her very large handbag. Right. And after the meal, the cutlery follows, as does a second beer glass. She then asks me if that was okay. I was so stunned I just kind of said, huh? We didn't go on a second date. The third one. I met a woman online who asked me to come to her house. She was cute and didn't scream, so I went out with her. I get there and it's clear she wants to have sex, which as a 20-year-old male I would have been fine about, except there are pictures of her husband everywhere. She was a touch older, about 25. I tried. I really did. But it weirded the hell out of me, and I felt horrible about the poor guy. Assuming he didn't know about it, she had advertised herself as single. So after a brief period of making out, I got the hell out before he came home and battered me to a pulp. We didn't really even go on a first date. The best bit about these three, they all happened within a week of each other. Internet dating. It's a fun world.